What's up, y'all? We're going to dive into a deal here that's on the market in Denver, Colorado. Let's see how fast we can get through this. We're going to look at a duplex in Englewood. That's going to be a house hack purchase that will switch over into a medium-term rental for travel nurse housing, remote workers, etc. after the year period you need to be in the property. So let's dig into this. The address is 3401 South Canosa Court in Englewood. This is a duplex side by side, two units, each one 2 bed, 1 bath, 1,495 square feet. So nothing too crazy, built in 1955 on a decently sized 9,100 square foot lot. Pretty straightforward property, honestly. Take a look through some of the pictures here. One of the units was recently remodeled, which is great. Another unit needs a little work, which is honestly a plus. That gives you an opportunity to go in and add a little value through some sweat equity, which is a good thing, I think. Just to give you an idea of where we're at right here and why I think this property actually is promising for the long term. We're located right here, right about here, where that 505 is. Okay. So to give you some more context, downtown Englewood is right here. Okay. That's where all of the redevelopment with downtown Englewood and all those shops and restaurants are, right along Broadway. Harvey Park is right here. So directly to the west of our neighborhood is Harvey Park. Directly to the east across Santa Fe on the other side of Santa Fe is downtown Englewood. Okay. Now, if we zoom in, one thing that I really like about this property in this location specifically is that right here along Federal, you have what was the Loretto Heights campus, which as of recently has been approved to be completely redeveloped. So you have a ton of redevelopment going on here right across the street, essentially on Federal, along Federal. You have downtown Englewood right here, which has been massively redeveloped. And you have Ruby Hill, Harvey Park, Bear Valley. You have some of these really nice neighborhoods right here that have seen a lot of redevelopment, lots of flips going on, things like that. So all around you, from basically every angle, you have lots of redevelopment and a lot of growth going on. And I think this little area right here is this interesting little pocket to hold on to for the future. Okay. So let's go ahead and get into the numbers here and see what's going on. So property is listed for $505,000. So let's assume a $505,000 purchase price. I'm going to put rehab costs at $7,500. I'll talk about that in a second. Closing costs are going to be about $10,000. We're going to use an FHA loan to buy this property as a primary residence, as a house hack. So we'll be able to put 3.5% down. The closing cost should be about $10,000. Okay. Now the interest rate at 5.5%. This is a little lower than prevailing interest rates right now. The reason I have 5.5% here is this. This property's been sitting on the market for quite some time, as you can see. And that would put me in a position to coach a client through submitting an offer where we negotiate with the seller to have them give us money to buy down the interest rate. We recently closed a deal in January of 23 where we got money from the seller to do just that and bought down our interest rate a whole percent. Okay. So I'm putting 5.5%, depending on when this property was closed or when you got under contract and could lock a rate. It may even be possible to go a little lower than that. Okay. But I think 5.5% is a good guess for now. Now, there is a lease in place in one of the units. That lease runs pretty much through next year at $1,450. That means you're going to live in one unit for a year after closing. And there's one other bedroom in that unit that I think you could potentially rent out on Airbnb or through some other medium-term website for about $1,000 a month. What does that mean? That means you're going to make $2,450 a month. All right. So when we get down into it, the 2450 relative to all of these operating expenses, it means that you're not going to make money that first year, right? And unfortunately, that's where most house hack situations are at in this market. So you're looking at about $21,000 that you're going to pay that first year you live there in order to live there. So what does that mean? That means it's a little less than $2,000 a month, right? Which I think when you put it into perspective is pretty comparable. Most people are paying anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 a month already to rent an apartment. So what if you could buy a property in a potentially prime neighborhood for that growth, for redevelopment and path of progress, and pay about the same as what you pay? Now things get a little interesting when we look at the future. Okay. So let's look at what happens when you move out and we rent this entirely medium term. So the first unit, 3401, is the remodel unit. Now, looking at the area in that neighborhood and kind of what that neighborhood is close to, all right, downtown Englewood, you're going to get similar units going for about 3,200. This side of Santa Fe, this neighborhood isn't as nice. It's not as close to all those hospitals that are over there. So I'm going to say this nice unit, the remodeled unit, we're going to put down for $2,900 a month. And the not so nice unit. So if you don't do anything to this property, if you don't to this other unit, right? This other one is going to go for 26. We'll call it 2650 a month. Okay. Now, coming back to this rehab cost, when you move out, you're going to have to spend some money to furnish the place. That's what this budget is for. Okay. One thing we do need to change here is we need to up our vacancy. When you do medium term, you're not going to have the same kind of occupancy or vacancy situation. You will have more vacancy, but that's okay. As you can kind of see, with all of these things changed and factored in, now you're looking at about $183 in cash flow per month. So what does that mean? That means about $2,200 per year in cash flow for this property. If you wanted to juice this a little bit, you could potentially self-manage, and that would really change a lot. Self-managing is something I don't always recommend just because it's a lot of work, but it would make a huge difference for your bottom line. And so it's always at least a consideration, I would say. So if we plug in 0% for property management, then our cash flow, our monthly cash flow bumps up to $700. And our annual income here bumps up to $8,800, almost $9,000. So it does make a huge difference. It's definitely something that's worth considering, I would say. But understand that's a lot of work. So all in all, I think that over the long term, given where this property is, given how you could operate it being so close to these hospitals and being just south of Denver, I think that there is potential here to operate this property as a medium-term rental, purchased as a house hack that you live in for a year and then move out in.